Hi, my name is Shane King, and I'm a PhD student at Vanderbilt University. Today, we'll be discussing the question, what are robots? Sometimes our brains quickly jump to sci-fi movie style robots when we hear the term, such as this robot made by Honda called Asimo. And while some robots like that do exist, many more exist that don't quite resemble that concept. For example, these are manufacturing robots constructing a car, very different from Asimo. So then, what makes a robot a robot? Generally, robots can be described as something that works on its own to help complete tasks. And as seen in this clip, these are Tesla manufacturing robots that are helping to construct a car. This allows for cars to be produced easier and more quickly with substantially less people working on the task. But completing tasks isn't all that defines a robot. I'm sure you guys can think of many things that complete tasks that aren't robots. And sometimes robots aren't even any good at the tasks they're supposed to be completing and make a lot more of a mess than they're worth. However, another way of thinking about robots is thinking of what makes them up. Robots are a combination of three parts: mechanical, electrical, and computer programming. The mechanical parts consist of the structure and the components that make it move, such as motors and drivetrains. And the electrical parts consist of the electronics and sensors used to control the mechanical parts and take in information on what's happening around the robot. Finally, the computer programming is like the brains of the system, and it tells the electronics what to do to control the robot. Another key concept to understanding what robots are is understanding the difference between passive and powered devices. Passive devices don't do anything on their own. They always need someone's or something's help, and generally are made up of only mechanical components. Powered devices, however, can act on their own due to the addition of electronics and programming. Think of the difference between these two scooters. The scooter on the left requires the user to push the scooter with their legs, while the scooter on the right is electrically powered and therefore can move on its own with just the turn of a knob. Robots, much like the scooter on the right, are powered devices. Another way to think about robots is to compare them to ourselves. We too are powered devices, so to speak. However, we rely on our intricate network of muscles to provide that power and make us move. Our muscles and our skeleton are our mechanical components, while our nervous system and sensory organs are the electronics, and our brain is the computer programming, so to speak, that controls it all. Unlike us, however, robots use actuators such as motors instead of muscles to produce their movement, which can be used in many different ways, such as to create movement that looks like human movement, like the robot from the beginning, Asimo, or to make movement that looks very different from ours, say, like a self-driving car. Another important element of robots is that they're made up of inputs and outputs. Inputs control the robot and tell it what to do, while outputs are what the robot uses in response to complete its task by interacting with the world. Some robots, such as this washing machine, are simpler than others in that their input tells them when to start and then sets them off on a predetermined path until the task is presumed to be accomplished. In the case of this washing machine, it has no way of knowing if your clothes are clean. It just does the same thing every time and assumes that it will result in clean laundry. It has no feedback to let it know if it's actually accomplishing its task. This is referred to as open loop control because there's no feedback to close the loop to ensure the task is complete. On the other hand, a Roomba would be considered smart by comparison because it's able to use sensors to map out a room and determine where it is already cleaned and where it is not yet, rather than randomly moving about the room hoping it covers all the area. This allows the robot to ensure that it has completely cleaned the room before moving on or stopping. This is referred to as closed loop control because the feedback the robot receives ensures that the task the robot was assigned is actually completed. So this has been a brief overview as to what robots are. However, if you want to learn more about what we at Vanderbilt do with robots, check out Rachel Teeter's video on wearable robotic devices.